What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the show. So we're going to take a look and a listen to Bernie Sanders. He's going to be talking about the future, what they plan to do or what they want to do in the future. Okay. There's not a lot going on when it comes to Congress right now. There's a lot of talk, but no action. We see that a lot when it comes to Congress, but this is exceptional. This is a time where really nothing is getting done. Nothing is getting done. We haven't seen any major legislation in the last several months, and it just continues to we just continue to hear talk. That's the bottom line. So let's take a look and listen to Senator Bernie Sanders, hear what he has to say. Now, one thing, whether you like Bernie Sanders or you don't, he's not afraid to voice his opinion. You have a lot of politicians out there that are afraid to voice their opinion. Or if they think that what they say might hurt them, they don't say anything at all, or they don't put forward a plan at all because they fear that if they say something, then they're going to lose votes. Senator Bernie Sanders, he's out there. He'll tell you what he thinks. He doesn't really pull too many punches when it comes down to it. So we're going to take a look and listen to him. But first off, on this channel, we talk about retirement. We talk about Social Security. We talk about what's going on in Washington, D.C. If that sounds like something interesting to you, please subscribe to the channel and hit that little bell notification. That way you get notified anytime we put out a video. And like always, if you see my name and a picture of me in the comment section, make sure you see a check mark next to my name. That check mark signifies that it's me. If you do not see that check mark, it's not me. It's someone trying to impersonate me. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and play this clip, and this is Senator Bernie Sanders. I'm going to play the full clip, and we might stop it along the way and talk a little bit about what he's saying. So here we go.
Bernie Sanders, the independent senator from Vermont, about what he thinks Democrats can do to avoid a shellacking in November. Let me start with what you know probably instinctively these days, but our polling has found 75% of the country thinks we're headed in the wrong direction. In fact, just 28% of Democrats right now think the country is headed in the right direction. Where do you stand? Do you think we're headed in the wrong direction?
I sure do. Look, what we're looking at is a nation today where the billionaire class, the people on top, are doing phenomenally well, Chuck. The middle class continues to decline. We're seeing increased concentration of ownership in America, which has huge impacts for ordinary people. You got three Wall Street firms, Vanguard, BlackRock, and State Street, that have assets of over $20 trillion, controlling hundreds of corporations. You're seeing millions of people unable to afford the cost of prescription drugs, unable to afford health care, unable to put gas in the tank. So how can anyone think that what's going on right now is good? And obviously, what I and other progressives are trying to do is put together a movement which tells the billionaire class in this country, whose profits are soaring, who are getting richer and richer, you know what, you can't have it all. We need an economy that works for the middle class, the working class, the elderly, the children, not just the few on top.
You know, it's
and that's interesting that he's saying this. He's talking about the wealthy. So I would say that the wealthy, there are a lot of wealthy people out there that think that everything is fine. And we are moving in the right direction. For them, we're moving in the right direction. But I think the average person, the middle class person, the poor person, the people who are struggling right now, they're not going to say the same thing. They're going to say, you know what, we're moving in the wrong direction. I think the numbers that he posed as far as Democrats, I think he said like 26%. But when you look at Democrats and Republicans, the number is going to be even lower than that. And I think I saw an NBC poll that said it was at 16%. Overall. So moving in the right direction. 16% of the people think we're moving in the right direction. So we have a long way to go. We definitely have a long way to go. And he's just addressing the fact that, or he's looking at, okay, these are the people that think things are going in the right direction, and they're probably the wealthy, but the people who are middle class and lower are not seeing it the same way.
Interesting when you talk about the movement, because there's definitely, we see it in our own polling, there are more people that agree with sort of your mindset, that you're framing. We need big structural change. But what do we do now before the elections? At the end of the day, you have the Senate that you have, not the one that you want. What can get done now that could actually mitigate what looks like it's going to be a tough year for Democrats?
This is an important question. What can they do? Because they haven't been doing anything. So what can they do now in the next few months before the midterm in order to help the American people, okay? And maybe if you help the American people, they will help you get reelected.
Look, we passed early on in the Biden administration one of the most significant pieces of legislation in the modern history of this country. That was the American Rescue Plan, which, Chuck, in my view, did a whole lot to help people deal with the economic turmoil that we saw as a result of COVID and massive unemployment. What we have got to do right now, it's not hard. You know what you do? You listen to the American people and not wealthy campaign contributors. What does that mean? It means that right now you lower the outrageous cost of prescription drugs in this country. You have the guts to take on the pharmaceutical industry that right now has 1,500 paid lobbyists in Washington, D.C. You expand Medicare. I happen to believe, as candidates that I support believe, that health care is a human right, not a function of making huge profits for the insurance companies and the people who own them. You got to move toward expanding health care. You got to raise the minimum wage to a living wage. You got to create millions of jobs by dealing with the existential threat of climate. And by the way, you got to do what the American people want and understand that it is women who have the right to control their own bodies, not the government.
Okay, everything you said there was being addressed in Build Back Better. Okay, it wasn't as big as you wanted it. It was too big for some. But why do we have nothing? Right, that is the head scratcher here. Understand you don't have it all. Why is it zero? Why is there nothing?
Well, it should not be a head scratcher. You got two members of the Senate, Senator Manchin and Senator Sinema, who have sabotaged what the president has been fighting for.
That's a strong word, sabotage.
Well, you help me out with a better word here. You got 48 members of the Senate who wanted to go forward with an agenda that helped working families, that was prepared to take on the wealthy and the powerful. You got a president who wanted to do that. You had two people who prevented us from doing that. You have a better word than sabotage? That's fine, but I think that is the right word.
Okay, so what do you guys think? In the comments, let me know. Do you think Senator Manchin, Senator Sinema sabotaged this Build Back Better plan? Let me know. Let me know in the comments below.
I think pressure has got to be put on the part of people in West Virginia, in Arizona, to say, you know what? Why don't you stand up for ordinary Americans, not just your wealthy campaign contributors? Why don't you have the guts to take on the drug companies and the insurance companies and the fossil fuel industry?
So let me ask you, though. I've talked to Pennsylvania Democrats, and they also blame Senators Manchin and Sinema. They don't blame the Republicans. Is that healthy for the party, that all of this concentration, and should you have found something to do that isolates the Republicans rather than you guys ended up dividing the party against itself?
No, I don't see it that way, Chuck. I mean, I think on all of these issues, we had zero Republican support for the proposals in Medicare, in Build Back Better, that were enormously popular. So it's certainly not just Manchin and Sinema. They are 2 out of the 50 Democrats who went in the wrong direction, but every Republican did. So if your point is it's not just Manchin and Sinema, you're right. It is every Republican. Now, the problem, I think, is we have not done a good job in making that clear to the American people.
Okay, so that was Senator Sanders. Now, they went on to talk about abortion rights, but I want to stick mainly to Build Back Better and mainly to new legislation that we'll hopefully see in the coming months. And so you saw Senator Sanders went after Senator Manchin and Senator Sinema and pretty much said, look, they sabotaged this Build Back Better, which in my opinion, I think he's right. I think this was a situation where they had an opportunity, Democrats had an opportunity to move forward with major legislation, and you had 2 senators that were holding it up. And so we'll have to see what they do in the next couple of months. But when it comes down to it, it looks like, I mean, Senator Manchin is still in opposition when it comes to a lot of different legislation. And we saw the abortion rights. They wanted to codify Roe versus Wade, and Senator Manchin, guess what? He was on the other side, right? He didn't want to go forward, so they got 49 votes instead of 50 votes. So when it comes down to it, now they still needed Republican support. When it came to the abortion rights bill, they didn't get that. And one of the key things, and they mentioned this in this interview, is you have Democrats kind of fighting against each other, right? We're talking a lot about Senator Sinema. We're talking a lot about Senator Manchin, but we're not talking about the other 50 Republicans that are not supporting anything when it comes to President Biden try to move forward any type of legislation, you have 50 Senate Republicans that are not moving forward with any of that, right? So that's something that needs to be talked about as well. And I don't think it's getting talked about enough. And we're focused only on two people, when the reality is, if you had some Republicans that liked some of what was in Build Back Better, or they were in favor of a child tax credit, or they were in favor of another round of stimulus checks, or they were in favor of a lot of these different things, then they could pass without Senator Sinema and Senator Manchin, because they could still pass a reconciliation bill. They just need 50 votes. They don't need 50 Democrats to vote. They just need 50 votes. So they could pull over some Republicans if possible, but the reality is it's just not going to happen. And I mean, I just saw something that was very frustrating for me to watch. I saw, and this happened last week. So you saw Speaker Pelosi, she went to Ukraine, right? And so last week when Speaker Pelosi went, they called it a delegation of Democrats going to Ukraine to meet the president. And then we saw, just this weekend, we saw a delegation of Republicans. So you had the minority leader, Mitch McConnell, go. Now, they have to go separate. They can't even go together on something that they both agree upon, okay? Both Democrats and Republicans are looking at the situation in Ukraine, and they're in favor of helping Ukraine, right? They can't even go together. Why couldn't we have a delegation of U.S. senators or U.S. Congress people going to Ukraine to show their support? They couldn't go together. And you might think, well, it's not a big deal. They can go separate. That's fine. But you know what? It costs money. Every time they go like this, I mean, especially a situation like this, you're going into a war zone. Of course, it costs a lot of money when it comes to security. And so they had to do that 2 times. Actually, they had to do it 3 times because the First Lady went. Now, the First Lady, I think that's a different little situation where First Lady met with the First Lady in Ukraine. But when it came to the Congress people, they could have all gone together. But they don't get along enough to be able to go together. They can't sit on a plane together. I mean, it's almost like it is. They're kids. I was going to say it's almost like they're kids. No. They're kids. They can't sit on a plane and travel to Ukraine to meet with the president and show their support, bipartisan support. They have to go separately. So just watching stuff like that really, really frustrates me, because look, we're paying these people salary and they are not behaving like they should. And so I want to know what you guys think about Senator Bernie Sanders, about this interview. So let me know down below. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. Please subscribe for more, and I'll talk to you in the next one. Bye.